Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down the stories behind the headlines. Today, we're looking at how a single, seemingly small fee, just $250, is creating massive economic and cultural shockwaves all across the United States. This whole story, it doesn't start with a big bang or some huge announcement. It's the opposite. Life just kind of went on as usual. But quietly, behind the scenes, a decision was made that would slowly but surely change how the entire country connects with the rest of the world. So what's at the heart of all this? It's something called the visa integrity fee. Basically, it's an extra charge that got tacked right on top of the visa process for international travelers, officially to fund security and processing upgrades. And this is the number that kicked everything off: $250. Now, on paper, you might look at that and think, okay, what's the big deal? It's just one more line item on some paperwork. But as we're about to see, this number would end up having consequences far, far beyond its dollar value. So you're probably wondering, how on earth does a little fee like this start to completely reshape global travel patterns? Well, it all started with millions of individual choices made by people who were thinking about visiting. You see, the initial reaction wasn't just about the money. For families, for students, for seasonal workers who are all on pretty tight budgets, this fee created this sense of frustration. And for a lot of them, it felt like a message. It felt like they just weren't really welcome anymore. So all of a sudden, people from all over the world, Latin America, Asia, Africa, even parts of Europe, they're standing at this fork in the road. Do you pay more and deal with all the extra uncertainty to visit the US? Or do you just pick a different country with fewer hoops to jump through? A whole lot of them chose the easier path. Okay, so let's track this. How do all those individual decisions start to snowball into this massive nationwide economic shockwave? Well, it wasn't one big hit. It was more like a slow drain, hitting one city after another. Let's take Tucson, Arizona, for example. It's a city known for its amazing culture, but the change was felt almost overnight. International arrivals plummeted by more than 30%. Imagine being a tour guide there, and suddenly your schedule is just empty. Hotels started cutting staff, and a city built on welcoming the world suddenly felt a little bit isolated. And this is where it gets really interesting, because you can see the chain reaction in action. In a place like Spokane, the whole economy leans on seasonal workers. When fewer of them showed up because of the fee, the local resorts were suddenly short-staffed. That means service quality goes down, which means fewer guests book trips, and, well, you see where this is going. It's a classic downward spiral. And look, this isn't just about dollars and cents. In a place like New Orleans, a city whose entire soul is built on global culture, this hit differently. Festival attendance dropped, musicians were playing to smaller crowds, and that unique electric energy the city is famous for, it just started to fade. And this quote, man, it just says it all, doesn't it? This captures the feeling in Kansas City. They were chosen to host the 2026 World Cup, a huge honor. But now, with overseas tour bookings way down, there's this real fear that they're going to be hosting a global party with no global guests. And then you have Florida, a state that basically runs on tourism, and it got hit from both sides. Miami saw a huge drop in visitors from Latin America, which hit everything from nightlife to retail. Meanwhile, Orlando's theme parks were so short-staffed they had to cut their hours. But in Chicago, wow, the numbers are just staggering. A 40% drop in international bookings. 40%! For a city that prides itself on being this global crossroads, that's not just an economic hit. That's a punch to the gut. And this really brings that number to life. That 40% isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It's empty seats on Chicago's famous architectural boat tours. An attraction that's usually packed with people from all over the world saw its attendance get cut by nearly half. The boats were still running, but they were half empty. All right, so it's really important to get this. The damage goes so much deeper than just lost tourist money. We're now starting to see the long-term, kind of hidden consequences of this one little fee. See, what economists are pointing out is that when you put up barriers like this, you lose more than just a tourist for a week. Visitors often become students, or they become investors, or they become long-term business partners. When you weaken those relationships, you slow down cultural exchange, and you stifle the kind of innovation that only happens when you have that global connection. And really, this gets to the very heart of it all. Tourism isn't just an industry, right? It's a reflection of a country's identity. When you make it harder for people to visit, the message it sends to the world, whether you meant to or not,
is one of exclusion. And that changes how the world sees you.
So where does that leave us? This one quiet decision has left communities all over the country trying to figure out what just happened. And it raises some really big, lingering questions.
The lesson that's unfolding right now is that even tiny policy changes can have this enormous weight, especially when they touch on things like movement and access and trust on a global scale. It really forces a conversation about what openness truly means. And that leaves us with the final thought to really chew on. This door didn't slam shut. It was closed quietly. As communities across the country feel what it's like when the world stops showing up in the same way, the real challenge will be figuring out just how hard is it to get that door open again.